Welcome back to The Big Show. It's Alex talking to the biggest stars, and it's always nice to get on a legend. A Sheffield lad, Paul Carrack's career has spanned more than 30 years. He's sung with Ace and Squeeze and Mike and the Mechanics, amongst many others, and he's a proper musician, and it's always nice to get him on. He's also going to be coming to the Grand Theatre in Leeds at the end of the month, and it's delightful to get Paul Carrack on the programme. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Even better after that introduction. Fantastic.
Well, the good thing about you is you're not a faker, are you? You can actually do it.
Well, I try. I mean, not a faker, no, but I mean, when you said proper musician, I thought that might be stretching it a bit, actually, you know. I taught myself to play a bit of everything along the way, and I seem to have got away with it so far, though.
In terms of what you are then, are you a singer? Are you a musician? What type of music do you love doing the most? Because you've spanned so many different types and so many genres.
Well, as I say, I mean, I started out as a kid playing drums, basically, or bits of drums that I found in the attic that my dad used to play. And he used to bash along to the record play, you know. My brother played a bit of guitar. So there's always a guitar lying about. So, as I say, I taught myself to play a bit of everything, and I always had a decent voice, but I never sang lead in any bands until we formed that band Ace, you know, in the 70s, and that's the first time really when I started writing songs and singing, and so you know, always learning something new every day.
If you don't mind me saying, you're a worker, aren't you? There doesn't seem that much showbiz. I'm sure there are moments, but you actually do it for the love of music. You're not in it to turn up at the free parties for a free vol-au-vent.
I'm not opposed to a free vol-au-vent and a glass of wine, but I got into this because I loved music, and because I couldn't do anything else, basically, as well. Then, but no, that's what's in my blood. As I started out playing gigs, that was all I wanted to do, really. We didn't have great ambitions. I mean, thoughts of making, being on the telly or making records or anything like that was another world altogether. But somehow or other, I had a little break here and there along the way that's helped me and sustained me, and managed to forge a career from music, which is, you know, really is a dream come true.
And in terms of the music that you are known for, is it still a thrill when you hear them on the radio and you were a part of that?
Oh, very much so, yeah. It's fantastic to hear songs that you did years ago as well, for them to still get played on the radio. That's a fantastic buzz, definitely. I never had the inclination to sort of put my feet up. I mean, we're always completely producing new things, writing new songs, always touring. But I mean, it's not a nostalgic thing, you know. We always include some of those well-known songs in our show, but as I say, we're always producing. We try to put out a new album every year almost.
And in terms of your upbringing, let's talk about that for a bit, because you're a Yorkshire lad. How much was music a part of your life as a kid?
Well, I was fascinated by music. I was interested in it. I would say my first love was football, actually. You know, sport, football, and music a close second. I wasn't much cop at anything else. I was not academically minded. I mean, I wasn't a bad kid or anything, but I found it hard to pick that stuff up. But music came to me quite easily. And in my sort of very early teens, I was getting very enthused about bands, you know, because initially it was like the Shadows, and then all the Liverpool groups, the Beatles, the Searchers, and all that lot. And I started really getting into it, you know, and get excited about it. And of course, in my later teens, it was more about soul music and Motown and all that kind of stuff.
In terms of the decades, I mean, you've been around for a long time, not that I'm implying for a second that you're old, but the 70s was a great decade because, of course, it was Ace. You began with Warm Dust. The 80s was known for something else. Which has been your favourite of the decades?
It's all been interesting. It's all been good stuff. And, you know, it sounds corny, but my answer to that question is that this is the best time of all for me because, you know, I feel I've got a little bit established. You know, I have a few trophies and a few hits under my belt. I've played with a lot of fantastic people, and yet I still believe that as a musician that I'm still doing good work, and I'm better as a musician and a singer than I ever was. So, that's a great feeling to still have the opportunity to play the concerts, which is what I love doing, and people still come, and to still have the opportunity to make records. This is a fantastic golden time for me. I love it.
May I say, it's beautifully produced. It must have cost a fortune, because not only did you use Abbey Road, which can't be cheap, but you used the Royal Philharmonic as well, didn't you?
Yeah. Well, it's probably the most expensive record I've made for my own label in the last 10 years, because previous albums I've mostly done myself, recorded most of the instruments myself in my home studio. But this is a different kettle of fish. It's an album I've wanted to make for a long time, and as you say, it's with the full orchestra, 70-piece orchestra, and done at Abbey Road. So it is absolutely top notch in all those respects. No, nothing spared really. We went for the best on this, and the only thing I would say is that we were mindful of keeping things on track budget-wise, and the whole album was actually recorded in 3 sessions, three-hour sessions. We did 4 songs in each session, and the whole thing is recorded live with the orchestra in the studio and myself singing. But that's how records used to be made. In the good old days when performers could perform. Yes.
Let's take the new single, Don't Let the Sun Catch You Crying, is out on 25th of October, and just brilliant. We're going to talk about the history of that record in a bit, because that's really fascinating as well. We're here today on The Big Show talking to Paul Carrack, playing songs from his new album, which is called A Different Hat, and that's going to be out very soon. We're back on The Big Show. It's Alex Belfield talking to Paul Carrack today. A musical legend, been around with so many different things. We're going to talk about the Mike and the Mechanic years later, because that was so brilliant. But just the history of that record then, Don't Let the Sun Catch You Crying. Am I right in thinking that I've heard it before? It's a Jerry and the Pacemakers, isn't it?
Jerry and the Pacemakers, yeah. 1960-something, I'm not exactly sure. I don't think it's been covered many times before. I certainly couldn't tell you of another cover of it. But as I say, with this album, we cover a lot of different eras, really, going back to the 40s and 50s even, with a Nat King Cole song and an Edith Piaf song. But this is a nod in the direction of the 60s. As I said before, it was a very influential time for myself, in as much as it got me very enthused about music and wanting to make it, what I did. So that's the reason for doing the song. Yeah.
I'm reading here, by the way, on your press release, a couple of comments by different papers, and I think they're backhanded compliments. The Independent said one of the most underrated songwriters, and then The Times said the most reliable man in pop. I mean, these are nice things they're saying, but actually it's a bit backhanded, isn't it, in a way? I mean, you're clearly a very talented songwriter. Do you think you're given the credit you deserve?
Well, it doesn't really bother me. I don't even mind if they ignore me, because basically I just want to get on with what I do, which is I like to make music, and that's it really. And the rest of it I find hard work, a bit uncomfortable. I dread being reviewed, because some of the compliments, some of those things you said there, albeit a bit backhanded, they're not too bad. I can live with that, but I would hate to see myself attacked in the press or anything like that. So that doesn't bother me. And those comments you made there about being reliable, and that's okay. I would like to think I am reliable. I mean, I take it every gig I do is as important as the last one or the next one. We try and put on a good show, whatever the situation.
I get what they're trying to say. I mean, inconsistency is so important, of course, with any performer. But there's a certain spark to your voice, and it has great character. Did you always have that, or is that something you can develop over time?
Well, as a kid, they said I had a nice voice when just singing stuff. But as I say, I didn't even really start to develop it until in my 20s. That's when I first started singing with bands and on records. And I think you start initially by trying to emulate your heroes. In my case, it was the soul guys, And over years, as you build up your musical knowledge and your vocabulary, I think you develop your own style and try and find your own voice. You know, that's what I hope I've done. And I often think that as a kid, I had a major blow as a young kid in losing my dad, and that kind of really broke my heart. And I often think that maybe has something to do with the some people say the melancholy aspect of when I sing, you know, and the soulful nature of it. And I wonder if it comes from that sort of you know, knowing that kind of emotional feeling at an early age. Maybe, I don't know, maybe not.
Have you come to terms with all of that now? Have you managed to deal with it?
Of course, yeah. No, I'm a big lad now. I'm older than my dad was when he went, but you know, nevertheless, it did have a bit of a shape on me growing up, and you know, I always feel sympathetic to that kind of situation.
If you Google me on the internet, you'll find many comments about me and my product and what I do every day. Sexy is never really a word that's ever been described regarding my performance, but of course you are and have been for many years. And I just wonder what it's like to be a sex symbol. I mean, I think about the crowds in Berlin, 250,000.
You're taking the mickey now, mate.
No.
on.
I'm absolutely sincere. How does it feel to stand in front of 250,000 people and have them just obsessed with you, even if it's just for 4 minutes?
Well, it's pretty scary, but I mean, I didn't think you're talking about The Wall when the Roger Waters put on The Wall. Yeah, I mean, but you know, I wasn't thinking that those people are all focused on me and what I'm about. You know, it's the whole concept of The Wall, and it was about the music. I mean, I was very, very nervous that I'd get my bit right, but that's as far as it goes. But you know, you're talking about the sex symbol thing. No, that's a joke, but. I mean, we do get a lot of women do like what we do, but it's not, as I say, it's not about me. I don't think they see me as a sex symbol. I'm pretty sure they don't, but they like the music and the emotional content of it. I think that's what it is.
You've worked with so many legends over the years. When I look at your CV, I mean, keyboards for the Smiths and piano for the Pretenders, and worked with Sir Elton John and B.B. King and all these kind of people, Ringo Starr's all-star band as well. Who's impressed you the most? Who's taught you something? I'm
going to say the obvious cliche, which is they all have. I mean, this is how I've learnt, is just by being amongst other people. I've learnt on the job, so to speak. You know, I'm self-taught, but I must have soaked up influences from all these people, I'm sure. But you know, what I enjoy doing now is keeping my own act on the road. For 10 years, I've had pretty much the same band and crew, and we enjoy going to work. That's the thing. That is the key, is enjoying what you do.
Do you find greatness creates more greatness and genius inspires further genius when you work with somebody like Elton or BB or any of these people?
Well, you know, they're all kind of different in their own way, but one thing they do have in common, a lot of those people, and certainly most of the ones I've worked with, is that they aren't just names. You know, you think, is this a myth? About these people, but when you get to work with them quite closely, you realise, actually, you know what, these guys are really good. And that goes for the Claptons and the Elton Johns, B.B. King. I mean, B.B. King, what a fantastic guy. In his 70s, when I did that album, Deuces Wild, ages ago, but the most humble guy, and a road warrior, you know, just arrived from America straight to the session in his 70s, diabetic, but you know what, he gave it pelters. You know, he was fantastic.
Can you fake it at that level, or when you're an international megastar like those people are we've just mentioned, have you really got to be good?
All those ones I mentioned are, but you know, a lot of, as we know in this business, a lot of it is down to smoke and mirrors. And yes, you can hype something up, but not to have any kind of longevity, I don't think. That's the trouble, I think, with a lot of these sort of talent shows, is that the easy bit is bumping it all up to be, you know, the fame, instant fame. But, you know, to have any kind of longevity as an artist, I think you've got to have a bit more than that.
Paul, I've loved talking to you. Will you come on again?
Yeah, anytime.
Appreciate that very much. Sunday, 31st of October, you're at the Leeds Grand Theatre. We look forward to seeing you there. You got your brand new album out. It's called A Different Hat, and the lead song from that we played earlier, Don't Let the Sun Catch You Crying. And a really terrific album, beautifully produced. And what a thrill talking to you. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you.